watch. Wake up. You got fire to watch.
This is Pacho. Do you read me?
Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Com Tower. This is Pacho. Do you read me? Over.
Pacho, this is Con Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. Say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah! Get some. Hurrah! What's going on, everybody? Another week is almost over. Friday night's Eve, baby Friday. God damn, thank God is the weekend. Hey, we got a pretty good show today. A couple of good stories as well. Let's get all the pleasantries out of the way. This show is brought to you by Primerica. Hey, did you know that if you have your kids account started, you can even start a college account or a kids account before uh, before they're actually born. All you need to do is just start putting in there and putting their money with 18. You put $18,000 there, and your kids start saving and they put $18,000, and let's say by the time they're 23, 24, you let that money sit until they retire. By the time they're 65, they will have over $2 million in that account, and they can literally pretty much not work from that point on. So if you want to find out more about how money works, please, please, please DM me on the show. We will get there. As a matter of fact, at 9 o'clock Eastern time today, they are having a 30-minute Zoom call on great information as to how to save money, make money, and set yourself up for success. So it's all on the show link bio. By the way, I did listen to Brian. I shortened the link right there for the folks at Primerica. Check it out. Send them an email. They'll get you all spun and taken care of. Next, we're also sponsored by the VA. So here's an awesome message by Mike Richmond.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Did you serve in the military? If so, you can obtain a free lifetime pass to more than 2,000 federal recreation sites. These sites are located across more than 400 million acres of public lands, including national parks, wildlife refuges, and forests. The lands host activities to fit any lifestyle: hiking, biking, fishing, camping, and much more. Gold Star families are also eligible for these free lifetime passes. Plus, they cover entrance fees for a driver and all passengers in a car, or up to 3 additional adults at sites that charge per person. Obtaining one is easy. Just go to the National Park Service website, nps.gov, or the National Park Service app.
Nice. Hey, depending on the state and what your disability level is, it is, it depends. You may even get, fishing and game licenses for free, your hunting license, all that good stuff. So go on your state's website and see what benefits you rate, so that way you can basically, go do your thing, go fish, go hunt, and all that other good stuff. But yeah, and also in addition to that, you'll always hear me harping about is that, hey, get your VA claims in and get all that good stuff situated, because again, you gave your pound of flesh to this great nation of ours. You get your benefits and also get compensated for it. All right, sounds good. All right, and hey, we wouldn't be here. This show wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for you listeners, and as well as the great American Constitution. So what do I mean by that is that, hey, in this show we support First Amendment, the right to bear arms, freedom of speech, all the other great things, that the freedoms that we as Americans are born with, these rights, and that we're protected. So what does that mean? Like, subscribe, and follow. If not, that's fine. Make sure that check out the folks at sitchradio.com, because without them, shout out to them, this show wouldn't be here. So thank you, Brian, and all the awesome interns that help us out here do the show. So check them out. They got some other great podcasts there. If this one doesn't tickle your fancy, that's okay. Go ahead and check something else out and support your local podcaster. Okay. So I think that's pretty much it. So with that being said, let's get this party started. Uh, so usually, sometime during the weekend, we start thinking about this, what we're going to talk about, and for the show. So back in 2022, as I had came back from working in the Middle East as a government contractor, I had gone on one of my trips to Latin America and Colombia to visit family and such. And on my way back, I was at a cafe having breakfast, and really great cafe. It's one on the kind of the ritzier areas of Medellin, and it also had little small library. And me being these last couple of years, I've really gotten into becoming an avid reader. There was this book. I went to check out the books, right? And I was like, okay, it's cool, whatever. And so I asked him, I'm like, hey, how much for this? And I think he said you know, like 60,000 pesos, which I think at the time was like 30 or 35 bucks. Some ridiculous like that for these books. And I was like, man, that's a lot, which is in reality, it really isn't. I mean, I'm shit, I just pay. You guys heard me talk about audiobooks. I just paid 21 bucks for one book, which is a great investment, by the way. You can never go wrong investing on yourself and learning something. But here I am, complaining about these three books being too much. In my head, I'm thinking, Colombian currency, blah blah blah, whatever. Anyways, I'm enjoying my breakfast. You ever feel like someone's calling you? You've been whether it is, you know, you're buying something, a car, a piece of jewelry, hell, something at Starbucks that you're just trying to avoid because you just made a a New Year's promise. Anyways, this one particular book kept calling at me, and I was so I know in between, and I'm not making this up. In between having my breakfast, I will go back, I will look at the book and just check it out. Like, oh, what is this? Just and I'll put it back, and I'm like, no, it's too much. Screw it. Whatever. Anyways, towards the end, I'm like, you know what? Just these are books. Clearly, someone attracted you to it. Buy it. So one of them was, and they're all in Spanish, by the way. One of them was translating. One was about meditation, but this one was written in Spanish. And then the other one that's called "Secrets of the Millionaire Mind" by T. Harv Eker. Anyways, grabbed the book. I say, I'm just going to buy the books, whatever. And I took them with me. Well, as I was after I got ready and I got in the cab and made my way to the airport, I was reading this book, "Secrets of the Millionaire Mind." And holy cow, I mean, you've been hooked when you're reading something, and you just want to just chew all the way through it. Well, I mean, I was hooked on this book, and just some of the great talking points, and just some of the way the writer appeals to the reader. It made an impression to me. So, but one of the things that caught my eye, and I've heard this before, and but I really didn't. How can I say? Didn't implement it. Didn't really. Uh, I heard people say, paying yourself first. Hence the topic of the show. So I said, one of the talking points that he made said, "Hey, every piece of money that comes into you have to have four accounts: one investment, one for your bills. I forget what the other two are, but the best one really struck with me, and he said, "Hey, you need to start taxing yourself 10% of everything that comes in." And if you do that, by the end of the year, you should have some substantial account and be disciplined enough that, hey, that money is basically, it's kind of like you have an allotment already made, and that money you don't see it. So as soon as it comes in, tax yourself and put it in there. So 10%, right? So I started doing that, putting myself, taxing myself 10%, anything and everything that came in, my retirement pay from defense, my VA claim, my payment for my civilian job, and any all my other little investments and passive money that I have coming in, 10%. And because somebody that's somebody that helps people with their finances and such. I mean, I know how to manage that, and I rather borrow money at a low interest than pay, go to a bank or whatever. So I had borrowed money from my 401k, and because it was super cheap to borrow the money, and basically it's going back to me anyway. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to pay this money off sometime next year. Well, by implementing just taxing myself by the 10%, and I borrowed it in June of 2022, around the same time I got the book. By December, I mean, I had completely paid off that loan and still had made the rest of them, and then had enough money to put in my other investment vehicles that I have, putting that money away. And I was like, holy cow! I mean, what else can I do? What other things can I do with it? So I start, in addition to taxing myself 10%, I tax myself an additional 5%, and then just putting that money aside. So the point I'm trying to make here, folks, is that, and I think you've heard me say it before, compound interest will be your best friend when when it relates to investing. So, and if you haven't heard me talk about, which when I had Evelyn here on our show, she is a representative for Primerica, has been in the industry for 20 plus years. I mean, this lady knows her stuff, and she's helped my wife and I out tremendously, and she's taught me some really cool stuff. Uh, how to invest our money. So what we start, the rule of 72 is great. So basically, 72 will be your constant number, folks, right? That's your constant number. But if you divide that into whatever it is that your banking facility is paying you for you keeping your money in the bank, that will give you the amount of time it would take that money to double. So what I mean is that I think USA gives you 0.001%, something ridiculous like that, for keeping your money in a savings account, which is pretty much nothing. Uh, but there are other products out there that give you 3%, 2%, some online banks, whatever. So, but just divide that. Let's say 1%, just for giggles and stuff. Is if you divide that 1% into 72, it would literally take 72 years for $1,000. If you were just put $1,000 in that account and let it sit, it would actually take 72 years for that money to double. However, if you start increasing, find different vehicles of how your money could double with better interest rate on it, obviously it's going to decrease your time, right? So exponentially. So if let's say you're getting 12% from mutual, for example, from a mutual fund or something like that, I mean, your money literally will double every 6 years, which seems pretty feasible. So you need to start paying yourself first, folks, and don't wait until pay off your bills and then let's see what's left over, because life is going to get in the way. You may, oh well, hey, we have a little bit left, we're going to go out to eat, we deserve a pizza because we've earned it. You're going to justify whatever it is to not irresponsibly, but you're going to justify why you should just use that money now instead of putting it somewhere where it's going to pay you some dividends. So if all you can start is 1%, 2%, 3%, whatever, something is better than nothing, because at the end of the day, when you're 65, 59 and a half, or 60 basically, for retirement age, do you want to be your kids' financial burden, or do you want to be set for success so that money will last you? I asked the question. I know, Starbucks helps Angel do stuff. It helps me stuff too. But I mean, the genius that came up with, hey, let's charge more than $5 for a mochaccino latte, salted caramel, you know, latte, whatever, is a freaking genius, man. Because I mean, I see a lot of people who, um, buy that stuff every day. You multiply that on a daily basis. I mean, it's kind of like the old saying when, uh, me growing up, and even in the '90s and sometimes in the 2000s, like, if you smoke a pack a day, and if you were to save that money, you could have bought a house in XYZ years. Well, same, now same thing applies. If you every day put your money in Starbucks, I mean, Starbucks is making a killing. You know what I'm saying? It's like they might as well be a bank. So, you know, I think you can treat yourself every once in a while. However, uh, you know, buy yourself a Keurig machine, and you can make your own Starbucks at home. I mean, we had an espresso when we were when we were in the Middle East, and then we bought one here, and one of those things. I mean, it'll be much cheaper than you uh, putting that money away, giving that money away to somebody else. Just again, these are all just tips and things that now that I'm in the finance industry for a little bit, I'm just sharing that knowledge with you. Imagine yourself where you could be. And by the way, for us veterans, I'm just talking to all of us who are here in the crowd, is that I know a lot of us have been smart enough to apply for our VA claims. And if we didn't like the rating that they gave us, well, I know we're using an advocate to get that percentage bumped up a little higher to get us to where we want to be, whether it's 70, 80, 90, 100%, whatever, because that extra, what you could do with that extra money. And by the way, it is tax free. You can go ahead and grab some of those monies and put in an investment vehicle to set yourself for success. Because at the end of the day, it's starting to save some money. Again, put in it not in the bank, because I hate to say it, folks, but banks are going to be made whole. All right, banks never lose. So do you think that they're being very gracious by giving you that 0.001% or even 3 to 4%? Do you think that they're being very gracious because of that? Because your money, you put your money in that banking facility, then they're going. Banks don't keep money. They don't have a vault in the back with a ton of money in there. They do not, folks. Okay, what you put your money in, that money automatically it's going to get, and you're getting a 3 4% whatever. You're getting that, that little bit percent. That bank is going to lend that money out to little Johnny, who's a PFC in the Army or Marine Corps, and they just went to Oceanside, and they're going to buy that $25,000 used car at a 30% interest rate. The bank is going to lend that money to little Johnny, and then they're going to charge him an ass ton of money on an APR, right? For that loan, and then that money, Johnny's going to be paying that money, and then they're going to give you a 3 to 4%, and then your money just keeps being, and then little Johnny borrows money, and then that money gets being loaned out, and it's out in space making money for the bank, but not for you. So the bank is not it's not your friend. So put that money in somewhere where it's going to grow for you and basically help you, not end up being your kid's financial burden. I grew up in a Hispanic home, and I know that, and this is even to this day in Colombia, you can hear, oh, I can't, when I'm older, my kids are going to take care of me, so on and so forth, which it is what it is. And I'm somewhat in a situation now where I love my parents, my mom, and I'm helping her out. I'm taking care of her. However, I don't want to. I'm trying. My wife and I were trying to do our best not to put our kids through that and prepare ourselves financially. Yeah, they may end up taking care of us in the sense that when I need help walking because now I got a bionic knee, whatever the case. But in regards to financing, then in that aspect, we're trying to set ourselves up so that way financially, we're not a burden to them. And that's what I mean, folks. So, but it's never too late to start saving. As a matter of fact, if you are at the age of 49 or the age of 50, there is the IRS, there's a catch up provision. So if you're starting to invest in a retirement account like a traditional IRA or a Roth, you can actually put that there is a catch up provision for an extra $1,000. So I believe for last year was 6,500. So if you were, that's the max you can put into an IRA, Roth or traditional, and then the catch up was an extra 1,000. So you can put $7,500. I believe when it went over this year to 7,000, and the extra 1,000, so that's 8. So if you maximize your IRA, your retirement accounts every year, again, compound interest every 6 years, that money is going to do its thing. So it's more feasible to make that happen. And whether you can or can't, at least make an effort. So ask yourself, because again, these are things that my wife is really great at it. And I started getting into it with her mainly, and then as we got together, and I got into this industry and got licensed in it, then I obviously everything clicked, and these are concepts that we help other families as well. So, but if you can't max them out, then that's fine. Every little bit, every little bit help. Uh, Shit, I can't talk. Every little bit helps. And if you got kids that are getting ready that you want them to go to college, again, some of the tax laws changed this year as it relates to uh, saving. Is that now on depending on the type of plan that savings plan for them, depending on the type of plan that you set up for them. Let's say if little Johnny, little Susie doesn't want to go to school anymore, then you can actually roll that into an IRA with $18,000, folks. Like I meant, did I say that earlier? With $18,000 in the account, and little Johnny, little Susie lets that money sit on for the next 40 plus 30 plus years. By the time they're in their 60s, they will be millionaires just by just the amount of $18,000 can do, even if you're in your early 20s. And maybe I'll try to post it. Maybe I'll try to post it if I can. Is But by waiting just 10 years, I mean, that money. I mean, you still have a substantial amount. It'll be like in the 600, 600, 700,000. But just by waiting 10 years, that amount again greatly decreases. Had you have started doing it when I was 18. And by the way, I know Angel just put a comment out there about the tuition. Depending on what type of investment vehicle you use for your kids, whether it's what they call a 529 plan, you can actually use that money in that plan tax free to pay for tuition for your kids, for their private school, for the laptops, for many other things. So you can actually do that and without taking any penalties. Some of those plans are structured like that. So if you're interested, shoot me a DM and I can definitely plug you in and just give you some information. Okay. So there are many vehicles out there that you can use to help yourself, help your kids, and set them up for success. Because at the end of the day, finances can be tricky. It all brings back when I was in the Marine Corps. I got two quick stories. When I was obviously everybody knows that the old staff sergeant that knows everything, or your platoon sergeant. Hey, make sure you put in your Montgomery GI Bill. Make sure you do this. I was in the generation where the TSP didn't come on board until the late 90s, early 2000s. The TSP, the Thrift Savings Plan, was a product that was developed in the 80s for civilian government employees. So that's the history behind that. Later on, obviously, the military kind of caught on. Well, people can't completely retire with their pension from not in today's economy. So they brought this on board to get service members to also start kind of like as a 401k, as an investment vehicle to get you kind of going. And by the way, if you don't know the history about the 401k, one of these days just look in Google the history behind it. It was developed in the 70s, and 401k, 403b, those are just tax codes from the IRS. It was developed as basically as a tax haven for people with a lot of money. Companies caught up into this stuff like, hey, if we do this, we get a huge benefit from the from being taxed, and if we offer it to employees, yeah, it's a win-win situation. We get the benefit, they get a little bit of a little bit of the benefits, but in the end, it's again, and with a 401k, you're not going to become a millionaire with a 401k. I can guarantee you that. Okay. So, but that'll be another show. So But look up at the history behind all these vehicles and how they were developed, because us service members, you know, the you can't retire again. It depend. I mean, you can become an expat, just like John Davis, who's been on our show, who's he's in Dominican Republic and all these other great places. You can't retire outside of the U.S. However, in the U.S., um, that money will be really, really stretched. Even if you have your VA benefits and stuff, it takes a lot of discipline, and I hate to say it, most people are not, because we got needs, wants, and all that good stuff. So you have to be very disciplined at paying yourself, and figuring out a budget. It's eye opening actually when you do one. You're like, holy cow! I didn't know my money was going there. Why do I have this? Why do I have that? And then you start finding money. When I had so Most of you that personally know me, I was I came into the Marine Corps in the early '90s, and then I got out after my first enlistment. And then about a year and some change later, I came back in, not because I had to or whatever. I generally missed the Marine Corps, and I came back in. So I was at truck company right there in Camp Pendleton. Shout out to the Marines at Camp, not Camp Horno, Poke. No shit, I don't even know. Anyways, at one of the camps out there, and that's where I met Scott Gilman. But there was this one Marine in the platoon that this dude always seems broke. Now, he didn't borrow money. He didn't seem, not in that sense. But the dude literally always ate at the chow hall. When the roach coach used to come into the motor pool, he would avoid it. He did smoke, and that was, I guess, you could say that was his only vice. And but not much, and he didn't do much. He didn't do much, and he was actually from California. Anyways, I once asked him, I'm like, hey man, you always seem like you keep to yourself a lot, and but like you're broke. I mean, I said it like that. He's like, yeah, I know, I can see that. Yes, I do, but I got a game plan. I'm like, yeah, tell me about it. He goes, well, I'm paying myself. I'm like, what does that mean? Because yeah, so when I get paid, I take half of my paycheck and I put it in my investments that I have through through my broker and everything. And I was like, what? Because yeah, and then the other half, that's what I used to live on to my next paycheck. All my bills are paid. I have allotments for all of them. He goes, yeah, my only vice is I smoke cigarettes, but I pay. Obviously, I allocate my funds for that, and I don't use the roach coach. My chow is free. I live in the barracks. I'm not married yet. My girlfriend's in LA, and I just go home on the weekends and we just do our thing, and that's pretty much it. So I'm like, well, how much is that you're gonna have by the time because are you gonna re-enlist? He goes, no, I'm gonna get out, and after my enlistment, but I think he goes, this is how much I'll have by the time I get out, and it was like over $100,000. I mean, this he broke down that plan, I mean, to the T, and I was like, holy cow! I mean, and he told me about his investments, the type of vehicles that he was using, blah blah. I mean, and we're talking like almost 20, over 20 years ago, but over 20 years ago. But this kid had and he did. I mean, I went on to another unit, and but this kid, pretty much he stuck to his guns, and I asked him, so what is he going to do? Well, I'm getting a degree on business entrepreneurship, and I think I'm gonna become an investor. I'm like, God damn! So this kid had a pretty for a lance corporal, a two-time lance corporal, because he did the reason why he was getting out, because he was in the fat body program. He was overweight, and those of you who know those Marines or soldiers that are on that program, sponsored by your company office, it's the most miserable program that you could be on, because that's just basically getting your ass, yeah, getting your thingy to the ground by your company first sergeant, or whoever else has the awesome duty of messing with the people who are overweight. So, but this kid had a plan, and dude stuck to it, and so I commend him for that stuff. So, and that's kind of what what I thought about today is, hey, we have to pay ourselves first. It's not being selfish. It's not, I'm sure your budget will, if you look deep into your budget, and I hope everybody here has done some type of budget. If you would like an Excel financial worksheet, shoot me a DM. And shoot me a DM with your email, and I'll send you this. It's a doc, and you can plug it in, and at the end, it'll spit out what is it that where your money is going. And if you want some additional information, let us know. We'll get you all plugged in. At least it'll be an eye-opening situation, and then we'll set you up for success. So, uh, but that's it for today, folks. So what are we gonna do? What's our homework for from here on out is that any monies that comes in, so go if you have USA, very simple, set up an additional account. You can actually put a new name on it and say, and I call my investments or tax tax investment. So I'm taxing myself and I'm gonna invest that money. Put that money in there as soon as it hits. Don't touch that money. Okay. Give me Give me 30 days, Angel. Give me 30 days and see where you're at. Actually, no, I need you to give me 2 months. Give me 2 months, be solid about it, and then tell me where we're at, and then we'll go from there. And then we can, maybe hopefully help you out. So if you've been and so that's pretty much it for today. I don't want to keep talking. I already hear Brian already getting ready to press the button. So if you've been ruminating, a lot of stuff, going into a bad place, please don't, reach out to me, reach out to TRICARE, reach out to the VA, suicide hotline. Because at the end of the day, it's all great and dandy that people are doing some push-up challenges and whatever, but that's not going to bring you back. So please don't be a statistic. Don't commit suicide. We need you here. You matter. We love you. We care for you. All right, folks. So that's it for today. Ice Tomas, Dice, hoorah, get some shots. Peace.